Hey, what's up guys? My name is Moda and welcome back to the Mining Stacker YouTube channel. Today's video, another day, another new ASIC. These are Kaspa ASICs coming from IceRiver. We do have two new models, the KS5M and the KS0 Ultra. We do have the specs, we do have shipping windows. We don't have price points yet. Some of the vendors do have prices. I don't think they're too accurate, but we'll compare it to the other models and see where the prices need to be for them to make sense. Okay, so we're going to compare it. We'll see how it stacks against them and go from there, right? So if that sounds good, guys, stay tuned. Let's get to this thing. So they did announce two new ASICs. Shout out to T-Swift for giving us the info here. So they are going to be part of the June 15th to 30th batch, meaning they probably won't ship out until the last day in June, meaning people get them sometime the first, second week of July, okay? So two new models, first being the KS5M coming in at 15 terahash, 3400 watts. So pretty good sized beast, not exactly up to the KS5, KS5 Pro from bitmain, but kind of getting there, right? So not as powerful, not as efficient either, right? So kind of downfalls there. The KS0 Ultra, which is on the small scale, 400 gigahash, so it's doubling the Pro at the same wattage. So this one is a pretty good increase in efficiency, okay? So for those of you who like the smaller scale at home things, it's not too bad. So again, we don't have the prices, but let's compare it to the existing units. Okay, so Miner Bros has it listed at freaking 1,300 bucks. I don't think it's going to be anywhere near there. Realistically, well, let's look at the other prices, right? So the KA Pro would be the easiest comparison, right? It is a newer at-home miner, and it's going to scale in perfectly. Okay, so this guy, the street price is anywhere from like 23 to 2,500 bucks. Okay, this guy is 1/4 of that. Okay, again, this guy's at 1.6 terahash. These are 400 gigahash. So in order for it to scale in the same price range, it needs to be below 600 bucks. Okay, so again, at 1,300 bucks, at 1,000 bucks, hell to the no. Your value is going to be with the KA box, which, as we know, it's already not the best value. But again, you do pay a premium for these smaller form factors. Again, the smaller it is, because it's scaling down, there's typically always a premium. Okay, so to me, fair market price, if we compare it to that thing, it would have to be under 600 bucks. For it to be more appealing, because again, you would still have to have 4 of these things versus this one nice little unit, this thing would need to be cheaper. So potentially $399, my guess would be probably $499, right? $399 would be more fair price. If it's coming in at 500 bucks, so that means $2,000, so it's about a 10 to 20%, depending on where you buy it from, cheaper than the KA Box Pro, right? So somewhat appealing at $399, which is what the other one was priced at. Not a bad deal, right? Again, I'm not really into the smaller guys, especially with Kaspa ASICs, right? We kind of know what they turn into after a few months, especially right now. The hash rate is going to go through the roof come August, so just kind of making this thing a little less appealing. And also, for example, if any of you guys who have a KS0 Pro, a lot of you guys do overclock them. You get anywhere from like 360 gigahash, right? Depending to what extent and what kind of chips you have, right? So impressive, but again, it's just not really my thing, so I'm not too excited about that. But for newer guys coming in, people are interested, they want to get a little exposure, they want to just increase a little bit, not the worst deal in the world. So we have to see where the price comes in at, right? But we know that 600 or better, $499 would be a decent price, $399 would be a pretty good price for what it is, okay? Now, as we go on to the KS5M, so immediately the comparison would be with the KS5L, right? So just a refresher, the 5L does come in different variants. They have 12, 11, 10, and I've even seen 9 terahash units listed now also. And this guy's coming in, we'll compare it with the biggest guy, 12 terahash, 3,400 watts. This new guy is 15 terahash at 3,400 watts. So same wattage for both units. The difference being you're getting 3 more terahash with this guy. So is it more impressive? Yes. Would it be worth the wait and the price premium? In my opinion, depending on how much over it is, not really, okay? So we know the existing price structure for a lot of the bigger IceRiver units is about $1,000 a terahash, right? If we look at the 11 terahash unit, it's right on par. There is a slight premium for the big dog, I guess you can say. It's $13K for 12 terahash. There is a discount on the smaller unit, right? So the 10 terahash unit is at $9,300, right? So if we go along the same lines, it could potentially be like 12.9, maybe 13,000. We're going to have to wait and see. Maybe it's a little bit more aggressive because of the bitmain price reduction. We're going to have to wait and see. But in my opinion, at those price points, not very appealing. Okay, so depending on the price of this guy is going to give us an idea as to what they are going to be doing. Will they come in aggressive? Will they come in like under 10K? Will they just do something like that? Potentially, but it probably doesn't seem that way. Realistically, the play is for them to, because again, they know they have a few months heads up on bitmain. They have at least 2 solid full months where they can kind of keep the price as is. Maybe they'll see what sales are like, and then after a month, they could do another price reduction and then do another final price reduction once the bitmain unit comes out. And that's only going to be if Kaspa's price stays flat. I think realistically what they're hoping for is that there is some price appreciation with Kaspa, and therefore justify those higher price points, right? Because although we know bitmain does have this pre-order unit now, if Kaspa does rip, if KRC20 does come out next month and it does rip, or we get an exchange listing in a month and a half on Binance or Coinbase, something of that sort, we know the price could potentially rip. Or if the rest of the market just starts ripping, it's going to go up. So I think at this point, IceRiver is just going to kind of bank on that. And if it doesn't happen, then maybe they'll do the more aggressive price reduction come August, right? So what they do here with this bigger unit, with this KS5M unit, is going to kind of give us an idea into their thought process, okay? So the official price has not come out. It's probably going to be out anytime within the next few days, right? People are thirsty as hell for Kaspa ASICs, so chances are they're going to get that price out ASAP. Now, again, at these price points, not a fan, just because, again, we do have the game-changing price update with the KS5 and KS5 Pro from bitmain coming in at 500 terahash. So for example, for this guy to be on par, for the new guy, the KS5M, it would have to come in at like 7,500 bucks, okay, for it to meet that price point. And realistically, in my opinion, it would have to come in lower, okay, because again, you're competing with a better overall unit, more powerful unit, and just more reliable unit, and the bigger name. So the premium makes sense for the bitmain unit, not for a less superior IceRiver unit. Okay, so the price is probably not going to be much. Maybe it'll come in at 12K, 11K, something like that. And these other KS5L units will dip down a little bit for this June batch, and maybe a bigger cut come July, and then the final cut in August. We're going to have to wait and see, right? So, but again, once the price of this guy does officially come out, it will give us a peek into what's going on there. Okay. If we look at overall profitability for this guy, for the KS5M, it is pretty good, right? So at a 10-cent kilowatt hour, we plug it in, 15 terahash, 3,400 watts. Our daily revenue would be about $60, $66 in fiat, so about 500 KAS a day. Okay, so overall looking pretty good, but again, the big factors, number one, hash rate increasing, which it's probably going to go up very significantly come August. If you are considering any of these guys, if you have not ordered, I would factor in an extremely much higher hash rate come August, right? I don't think it's going to be a normal like 10, 15, 20% kind of batch. It's probably going to be, I would personally factor in for the hash rate doubling. I would factor in potentially a 500 petahash range by the time the KS5Ls reach people's hands, the KS5Ms, and those KS5 and KS5 Pros from bitmain come in hand, right? So come September, I would not be surprised to see this thing over 500 petahash, okay? We already saw a nice little increase just these past few days, and it's from people getting that KS5L that they pre-ordered in hand already. Okay, so, and if there is a price reduction with this guy, then the KS5L, that future batch will also be reduced. People will continue to buy these things. That hash rate is just going to continue to go up. Okay, so we know we have to factor that in. Also factor in Kaspa's emission reduction, being that 6% every month. So factor that in also. Okay, so when you look at overall things, just factor that in. Like, for example, with the KS5 Pro, for example, it's making about 700 Kaspa a day. It's potential come August that it's down to 350 Kaspa a day. Okay, and if Kaspa's at the same price, it'll be here. But if Kaspa's price doubles by then, instead of being at this 13-cent range, maybe it's at 25-cent range, then it'll double and the fiat profitability will remain the same even with the yield halving. Okay, so these prices are going to be very dependent on what happens with Kaspa these next few months. And again, anything can happen, right? We're at the point now where the halving is behind us. At any given point between now and sometime this fall, prices can just begin mooning and not come back. Okay, so we know what happens there. If price of Kaspa goes into that range, the prices of these units is also going to go up. And realistically, it does seem like that's what IceRiver may be banking on. Okay. So when we compare it again overall, the KS5M, to me, it has to come in cheaper. Okay, so the KS5L, very similar unit. Again, it's 3 terahash less, same wattage. The difference is you have access to this thing now. This thing is shipping now. It is available now. Okay, so you have to factor in that you would be able to get the amount of yield you can get ahead of those guys. Because again, you would be at least a month ahead of the KS5M. And like 2-3 months potentially ahead of the bitmain units. Okay, so you have to factor in the yield difference you're gonna get, because again, chances are by August, September, the hash rate is gonna go through the roof and your yield is gonna go down significantly. Okay, so comparing it with these guys, it's not that much better, where I would super consider it if the price is on par with it. Okay, now when we compare it to the bitmain unit, it's just the bitmain unit is more superior, more hash rate, more efficient, much cheaper price of terahash. Okay, the downfall is, again, you're waiting till August. So we'll see what the price is, but realistically, this is where my focus would be, right? This is still the comparison. We know that this is coming. We know when it's coming. We have that price point. It has to beat this price point, right? Because again, it makes sense to pay a premium for the bitmain unit, which is far superior in every aspect. It doesn't make sense for us to pay more than that for any of these IceRiver units. Okay, it has to come in more aggressive for it to make sense, at least for me. Okay, because again, I'm planning more in the future. Like, yes, you're losing these potential 2 months of yield, but for me, this is a long-term game. Okay, so if I were to get one of these, it'd be with the intention of this being the last Kaspa ASIC I get 100% for sure. Because again, chances are anywhere from between now and the next 4 to 6 months, the price is going to be unattainable, right? Even with the hash rate doubling, tripling, if the price also doubles, triples, quadruples, the prices of these things are going to be astronomical and they're going to be out of my price range. Okay, so like my window for ASIC purchases is literally anytime between now and these next few months. Because again, we are one big pump away from losing that affordability. Okay, it already is borderline unaffordable. It is already pretty extreme, but again, I've been building. I can now have a little bit more leeway where I can potentially purchase one of these ASICs prior to these run-ups. Because again, this thing is probably going to be 6 months from now. It's probably going to be double of what this current price is right here. Okay, so just depending on what Kaspa does, that's going to be a big factor also. Factor in the hash rate, factor in the different things, look at your different calculators. But at the end of the day, the superior unit is this guy. The superior price is this guy. Right? At the end of the day, for me, it's that simple. So this guy has to come in somewhere around there for it to make sense. Okay, so if you want to deep dive into whether it's worth it or not, I did do that video on the KS5, KS5 Pro, so you can check that one out. It's a lot more in depth as to different projections, etc., etc. This is more just covering where the price needs to be for this guy to make sense. Okay, so if it's coming in at like 12K or something at the same price point as this, no, it's going to be this guy all day. Okay, so super eyeing this guy. This is one that's definitely high on the list. I'm really waiting for the L9, which they may wait until the last freaking day to announce, officially announce that thing, and if any Lithium ASICs come out, right? We do have 2 big shows coming next month. I am hoping for some debuts by then, and realistically, by then is when I really want to make that choice. Okay, right now I kind of have it narrowed down. Very eyeing this guy again, eyeing that L9, any potential Lithium ASICs, but again, we do have Mining Disrupt, end of June, WDMS, mid-June. Okay, so those are 2 big shows. Chances are we're going to see these units, see price points of these units, right? So that way I can fully make up my mind whether I do get another ASIC or not, or just hang on to that money to just continue DCA. We'll see where we go, okay? So just wanted to say that. Do want to also touch on one thing. There has been a lot of talk about like Kaspa and regarding the emissions and what it's going to be in the future. And come the next bull market, you know, yield is going to be nothing. So my viewpoint, again, with any of these Kaspa ASICs is being long-term, but also in a sense short-term. My focus is this cycle. I'm not, for any alts, I'm not looking anything beyond this cycle. The only thing I would consider holding beyond this point, because chances are I'm not going to time the top. I'm going to probably be left with like 10 to 20% of my altcoin bags. The only one I would consider keeping, or the only one I would be taking profits into and keeping beyond that if I don't decide to sell, is Bitcoin. All the other alts, it's fair game. I'm not going to look into beyond this cycle because everything can change with these shitcoins. Okay, the only one that for me that's going to be tried and true and that I would consider hanging on to for the future following cycles is going to be Bitcoin. So like when people look at, oh, for 2029, the emission is going to be 3 Kaspa, I could care less because I will probably not be holding any Kaspa or very little Kaspa for that bull market. Okay, I will be waiting for the bear market after this bull market to accrue more if I think there is going to be more future there, which chances are there will be. Okay, so like my focus, for example, is right now is this cycle. So in 2025, if we think it'll peak, if we go by the typical cycle, sometime between like September, October, November, it's going to be about 40 Kaspa a block. Okay, so it is a pretty good reduction from the current 110 we are now. But again, if I'm predicting that Kaspa is going to be, let's say 50 cents, that's 20-something dollars a block still by that time. Okay, currently, if we base it off the fiat profitability, 110 Kaspa is only $14 a block. Okay, so again, we do hopefully get some pretty aggressive price appreciation. I would hope for like a dollar range, the 80-90 cent range. My personal prediction is still in the 40-50 cent range, just because again, I'm very conservative when I do my predictions. But I'm ideally hoping for that 80 cent to a dollar range. Okay, so just factor that in. I know people are kind of doom and gloom about the future, but again, I don't really care anything beyond this cycle. So like for this cycle, for example, if Kaspa does take off, this is extremely bullish that each block reward is only going to be freaking 41 Kaspa. Okay, so scarcity, right? Supply and demand dynamics. This is a big reason we've been bullish on Kaspa from the beginning, is because of this. I know a lot of people don't like it because of this, but this is what made me so bullish on it for this cycle. We'll see what happens beyond this cycle. We'll see how high we go and we can make sense of it. But for me personally, at least, I'm not worried that far ahead in the future. I'm worried about this freaking bull market, maximizing this bull market. Because even if I do see future in Kaspa beyond this bull market, I'm going to be buying in the bear market again. Okay, so it depends on your personal strategy and your viewpoint. For me, the emissions reductions and all this about, oh, we got to worry about efficiency. I don't think it's going to get to the point with profitability that we're going to have to be really worried about efficiency. Like whether or not I have to downclock the KS3M and such. Between now and the 6 months, I feel confident that we will have, at bare minimum, at least enough price appreciation to where that's not going to be any concern at all. So for me, I'm still not worried about efficiency too much. Ideally, obviously, you want to get the most efficient unit you can because it just increases that longevity, which again is another reason why this guy is more appealing, but it's not necessarily a factor. Again, for me, price per terahash is what I value. So that's where my focus is. And currently, the best deal is still this guy. Okay, so it's all up to you and what you think what's going on. There's just going to constantly be new ASIC releases. I mean, at this point, it's like, let me know in the comments, guys, what's your prediction actually? We're going to have more Kaspa forks or more Kaspa ASICs by the end of 2025. At this point, it's borderline ridiculous, right? Even these off-brand, these Windminer, Dragon Ball, and all this crap. For me, I'd be focusing on the big guys, and to me, this is the most powerful, most efficient, and most likely will remain that way leading into the end of this year. Because again, by the end of this year, prices are probably going to be outrageous. Okay, so this may be the best unit I can buy currently that's still affordable prior to that run up, because by the end of this year, probably not going to be looking at too many ASICs. Prices will probably be through the roof, right? So let me know what you guys think though. Are you guys interested in this KS5L or this KS5M, I should say, or the KS0 Ultra? What do you guys think the price is going to be? Do you think KS5M is going to come in around the same $1,000 a terahash, or do you think they're going to come in more aggressive? Do you think it's going to be 12K, 10K, $99.99? Let me know your guys' thoughts, guys. Please comment, like, and subscribe, guys. Thank you for watching, and I am out.